Welcome to Abstract Animation, where you can make a simple animation using an app just like this, or you can add secondary or tertiary elements of movement to make it more interesting. We are going to be using the app Piskel, piskelapp.com, free website that is easy to use. We're going to click on Create Sprite. This thing's got a lot of great features. So right away we have the workspace here. We have the frames, so each frame of the animation is going to come down. Then we have the tools. We have the line tool, we've got the bucket tool, we have the rectangle and circle or ellipse tool, and finally the move tool. And these are all ones that may come in handy depending on what you're making. If we look lower, we have the color palette, and this is a classic digital art color palette with a field here with all these different hues, and then you can look at different colors, so you can switch. There's thousands of colors to choose from, and if you stick around to the end, I'll show you how to get some good color combos. So I'm going to choose this kind of light red, and I'm just going to click over here. And then when I click back, you can see it's actually saved that, and I'm making my own color palette because I want 3 colors. I'm going to choose a blue like this as well. I'm just going to put it in the right spot, click over here, and then you can see I've got the blue. And then finally, I think I want something maybe in the gold area, so I'm just going to fine tune it to the kind of shade, the color that I want, then get the right hue, click once more, and I've got my color palette filled. So I'm going to start with the circle. You can use whatever shapes, lines you want, and I'm just going to make a circle, make a perfect circle. I'm thinking I want to have it kind of grow out and expand from the center. So I've made it the circle, it's not in the center. You can see it on the frame over here, and you can see it up there. This little button right here centers things. So when I click, you can see it snaps to the center. So now I know I'm dealing with the perfect center. Now, oftentimes you'll just make a new frame. However, with this one, because it's going to grow and I want it to get bigger, I'm actually going to duplicate the layer so that I have the exact same thing, and I'm just going to build onto it. That's a nice little shortcut. So I can click and drag, make another circle on top of this one. And then now, when you look in the top right, you can see it's actually animating in real time. So anytime you make a change, it will show up there. And you can see the frames per second. If I turn it up, it's super fast. If I turn it down, I'm going to put it to around 5 or 6 frames. That's going to be good for this. And then there's a thing called onion skin, which maybe we'll take a look at later. So I'm just going to keep doing that. It's just repetition. So now I'm going to duplicate. I'm going to drag it out, make it a bit bigger. And that looks good. And then you can see the third frame there. I'm going to go duplicate, add another little bit, and you get it. I'm just going to keep adding a little bit and then duplicating. So let's crush this down, make it go a little extra quick. At the end, I'm going to throw in one of the middle ones. So I'm going to check here, like 3 or 4. I'm going to duplicate that and stick it at the end, just so that when it gets big, at its biggest, then it'll shrink down with a little extra step in there, and I like the look of that. You can see it up here in the corner. You can click there, and then it tears the tab off, and you can make this as big as you want, so you can really preview your work before saving, or just at a critical point now. I'm going to have to add in a background color, and I want something else going on, so I'm just going to get rid of that for now. And then we're going to talk about making a background, and click on the first one, and we're going to talk about layers as well. So if I go to the right side, you can see layers. It's got a little plus sign. I'm going to add a layer. So now it says layer 1, layer 2. And what I want to do is add the same background color. So I'm going to go to my colors, and I'm going to grab the red that I chose before, and I'm going to click on the bucket tool, because that's just going to fill, it's going to flood the whole space like that. And there we go. So now we can see that it just turns red. So what we need to do is reorder the layers. I don't want the red on top. I don't want the background on top. So I'm going to click on my background, and I'm just going to click the arrow. So it's going to reorder it. So now the red background layer is on the bottom, and the animation part is on the top. And so you can click through each frame, can do this. And you can actually do this very quickly by clicking on the sheep. If you clone it, it clones to all of your frames. And now when we watch the animation, we've got a red background and the yellow circle growing in there. And that is looking nice. So this is a 3, this project right now. So if you wanted to save it, you actually want to go to export, the little mountain icon over there, And then you want to slide this up. So at its smallest, it's only a couple of pixels big. So if you save it like that, it's a tiny little animation. And so you want to bump it up to around 15 or 16 and make sure it's looping, and then you hit export. It'll show up in your downloads. I suggest you always drag it into your browser window like I just did, and now you can watch the finished animation to make sure it's great. Now, if you want to take things further, if you want to shoot for a 4, if you want to get a secondary action going on, we can do that. And we can do that by adding in another layer. So I'm going to click on layers, hit the plus sign, and now I have a layer on top, which is where I want it. And this time I'm going to use my other color. I'm going to use that the blue that I have not used yet. And I'm going to make some circles. And I just want to have a circle traveling around. So we've got one that's kind of growing from the center. Now I want it one that's moving around the space. So I can hit the clone button over here. Looks like the sheep. We already used it. And now in each frame, you can see it's just sitting there ready to be moved. And so I'm going to go and I'm going to use the move tool right here. And so for the first frame, I'll just keep it there. The second frame, I'm going to move it a little bit, like we talked about before. Moving things just a little bit, and I'm going to move it just maybe one block away. The third one, I'm going to move it a block away from the last one. And look, you can see how if I'm clicking this onion skin on, that it will show me where the circle has been. And that's really helpful to know where it is in relation to where it's going. So now I can really keep track of the last one. I can just go one over. And for number 5, I think I'll make it, that's as far as it's going to go to the right. Perfect. So now I know I have 10 frames. So number 6, I'm going to do 5 where it's going to be on the bottom. So I'm going to use the move tool. I'm going to drag it down. I'm going to line it up with the other one. I want to make it kind of symmetrical. And let's speed it up because it's just repetition. And when I feel like it's good, I'm going to double check, click on this, make it a little bigger. And let's see. So now I have the circle getting bigger, and I have a circle traveling across, flipping, and then traveling across again. So there we go. We got 2 actions going on. It's making it more interesting, more complicated, another layer. And so that's how you could shoot for a 4. Once again, to export this thing, we're going to go over to export with the little mountain and sun. We're going to make sure we're in the middle, that we're making it bigger, around 15 or 16 pixels. And then looping repeatedly, and finally we can hit export as a GIF. Showing up, let's do a double check before we submit this, and this is a good size, and the animation is looking the way we want it. So you can just submit that GIF to assignments, just like a picture, works great. For those wanting to think about color combos and really do some interesting stuff with that, you can go to Adobe Color or Color Wheel, and they've got a lot of different things you can do. So the color wheel, you can also drag a photo in. If you like the colors, you can just grab it. It will extract them for you. And there's also a bar up here that has a few things. If you hit explore or lab is probably the best one. That's got pre-made ones and in different categories. And if you go view all, there's quite a few under each one. And you can also make your own as well. So there's quite a few different styles and types, bright, pastel, all that stuff. If you want to create your own, the color wheel is here just sitting, and you can arrange those little circles. There's lots of categories that you can play around with, and it's pretty fun. So good luck with your project, and good luck with your color combinations.